Hi, my name is Joshua Stratton. I'm in the chemistry department, and I was asked to kind of describe some of my experiences from the spring and how some of the challenges that were presented with the remote instruction being presented within a short window of time were tackled for some of the various outcomes I wanted in some of my classes. So specifically, I want to talk about one class. It's a 300 level class in chemistry that is designed for basically a lab-based experience. So we had to move from the lab to completely online for the last half of the semester, basically, with really short notice. And so most of these labs, I have to deliver some content that is mostly informative, sets of rules to follow or lab protocols to follow. And then a lot of the lab is driven by interpretation of data. And so in the end of this lab, I'm having to give them some data and ask them to demonstrate some of the outcomes I wanted them to get from the class based on the data that was provided. And so any of the information I needed to provide, I used PowerPoint to provide some of that information. And so some of the things here that I did, I broke them down into roughly 8-minute to 10-minute blocks as the best I could. This one called Interpreting Mass Spectra or Mass Spectrometry was this technique. And the ultimate goal I wanted them to do as our synchronous meeting was going to be, I was going to give them some of these images you see here, and they would have to interpret the height of these vertical lines, the locations of them along the x-axis, all have meanings to determine that this compound is what it says at the top, 1,4-dichlorobenzene. And that was going to be the main assignment, was them, how can they interpret this and demonstrate that? And so in order to do that, I was going to do that in Zoom for this specific activity, but I was going to deliver all this information to them online. And so I recorded myself narrating the PowerPoints. As you can see in the bottom corner here, you can see all the little speakers. So I'd go through each slide and I would narrate them roughly a minute at a time then. So you can do that actually in PowerPoint where you just do record from current slide, which was super helpful. So I didn't have to do the whole thing at once and have to redo it because I made a mistake or whatever it may be. So I alleviate some of those problems. And the other thing that was important here is that when you go to new slides or review slides, make sure that you're happy with them. You pick a new slide and hit record current slide. And you can probably notice in the top left I have a blank slide. The reason I have that is because I would often accidentally hit record from beginning anywhere throughout this presentation, and then I'd overwrite anything I did on this first slide that I usually started with. So I strongly recommend putting a blank slide so you don't override or delete whichever you did for the narration of your intro slide, because I had to do it like 4 or 5 times for some of them just because I kept clicking the wrong thing. So that would definitely be a pointer I'd want to give. And then when it comes to data analysis or for the more process knowledge, process information, I use an app on my iPad called Explain Everything EDU. There's lots of these apps out there. But I tend to not be very dexterous with the mouse when I have to draw or write on PowerPoint. So I like PowerPoint for delivering information that maybe doesn't have a lot of writing or annotation on it. But then I like to use my iPad or anything else. So in this app, same idea. I would make a PowerPoint of whatever I wanted, and then I would import those slides into Explain Everything. And they also come as individual slides. It allows me to tackle each slide independently, not everything at once. I also could pause and restart narration any point in that as well. And so you can see here, I go back a little bit. It starts just the PowerPoint slide, so it's just those images. And then I could talk and I could actually draw at the same time. So I was trying to explain how you'd interpret, this is called a cyclic voltammogram, what the up, down, left, and right, and then all these other lines mean to them. And so the other part of this would have been that they had their own cyclic voltammograms they had to interpret, but then I could also write, I feel more comfortable about annotating. So replacing the whiteboard equivalent with using my iPad to tackle those issues. So those are 2 specific ways that I tackled dealing with those problems in this specific class.